Alright guys, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to talk about how to fork a repository. We're going to clone it. Then we're going to push a local branch into the GitHub repository. So to get started off, I like to use what's called Visual Studio Code. So this is where, it's a IDE where you could write your code, see the files. It's open source and it's made by Microsoft and it's on GitHub. And so if we go to GitHub, we could actually search for this VS Code. Okay, so you see here in the left, the company is Microsoft and the repository name is VS Code. And so right here within Git is all the code for running VS Code. If you click here on the commits, you could see, there's a commit 24 minutes ago. You can click on the commit details and you can see what was changed by this user. Okay. So why wouldn't I clone this directly? So if I clone this directly, I'd be within Microsoft and I couldn't push my changes back in because I don't have permission to be in this project. So what you could do is you could click this button here called fork. And so when I click fork, okay, so it's forking Microsoft VS Code. Now as you can see, it's under my account now. CBACO, VS Code, not Microsoft. But it says it's forked from Microsoft VS Code. But what this means now is when I'm working on this and committing, I can push this back into GitHub because I'm the owner. I'm the owner of this code now. So I can make commits. And if someone comes here, they could see that I'm committing to this project. I could do whatever I want with it. So the next step would be to get this on my local machine so that I could make some modifications. And that's called cloning. So this green button here, we'll click that. So we got clone, you got HTTPS, that's what we're gonna use. And you've got this URL right here. This is the URL to this repository. So let's copy that. Let's go into git bash and we're going to use a command called git clone, and let's go ahead and paste in that URL. Hit enter. Now it's cloning VS Code onto my machine. And this can take some time, so I'll speed this up. Okay, looks like that's complete. I probably should have picked a smaller project, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and go into that directory. When you clone something, it will keep the name of that repository. So you see I have a new folder here called VS Code. It'll keep the naming structure the same. So let's go into VS Code. Let's open this up in Visual Studio Code. So I have the code that's running Visual Studio Code right now. We're just going to make a simple edit, maybe to the README file. And let's call it, we'll change this to, we'll just put my name. And save that. And then we're gonna go ahead and add the file. We're gonna commit it. And we're gonna push it. All right, now let's go back to GitHub and see what happened there. Okay, so if we go to these commits now, you can see I made the latest commit to this repository. Since I own it under my account, I'm able to do that. Under Microsoft, I would not be able to, trust me, I would not be able to go in there and start modifying their project. But now that I've forked it, I can do whatever I want with it. I can share this with you. You could start working on it. And you can do this with any project in GitHub. That's the beauty of open source, is that you could learn by just looking through what other people are doing, or just coming in, making your mistakes and building on top of what other people have. And so that's how you fork, and that's how you clone. I'll show you another thing, because let's go back to GitHub. So right now we just have the main, well, we have the main branch along with, wow, with all the branches that Microsoft contributors have created. Wow, this is a lot of branches. But I want to make my own branch locally and push this into my VS Code. So let's do that. And you know what? I'm going to show you guys something else. We're going to work not in Git Bash this time. I love Git Bash, but you could also do this within Visual Studio Code. And so if you hit control and I think apostrophe, not comma, the apostrophe is the one up next to the one on the keyboard. So if you hit control and that at the same time, you'll get a terminal. And this one's PowerShell, but since I have Git Bash installed, you could click here and you could add Git Bash over here, and it's the same thing right within my terminal. So I don't need to have a separate Git Bash open. So what I want to do, I want to make a branch, and we'll call this version 2. We're going to switch that branch. Okay, now we're on version 2 of this branch. We're going to make a small edit here, version 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and add make a commit message. Okay. And here's the question: can we push this? Because version 2, this branch does not exist in GitHub right now. So what happens if we try to push? Let's scroll up to see what it says. We're getting an error message. The current branch, version 2, has no upstream branch. Okay, and it gives us another message. If we want to do that, we need to set the upstream branch, and we need to use, I think they give us what we need to write out to set an upstream branch, which will be in GitHub. So let's go ahead and write that. You know what? I'm gonna go back to Git Bash just so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so let's run the git push again so you can see it. And now let's go ahead and type in what it's telling us. Git push set upstream origin version 2. Origin is just where it points to in GitHub. So once we do that, let's go back to GitHub. And since there's a massive amount of branches in here, let's search for version 2. Actually, let me see. Let's run the git push command. Okay, everything up to date. Actually, this is going to be a nightmare trying to find this branch. Let's see. Oh, let's refresh. Sorry, let's refresh the browser. And then we should be able to search for that. And there you go. Version 2 is now on GitHub with my commit. And I modified the README file. So there we go. So we pushed a local branch into GitHub. Now, what's the benefit of that? So having a local branch in GitHub, as you're doing your work, you have a safe place to keep your work. So maybe something happens to your machine. You don't want to lose your code. You could, at the end of the day, you could push it into this branch on GitHub, and that way you don't lose it. Another benefit is when you're done, you could do what's called a pull request, and a pull request will do the merge for you back into the main branch VS Code. And I'll show you that right now. That's good for when you're working with teams, so people could look at your pull request, look at your code, make some comments or suggestions, and you can resolve those before you merge it back into the main branch. So now we got those two. We got VS Code, my main branch, and we got version 2. You can go here, which is called pull request. So I clicked on that, and we're going to select new pull request. All right, so the first thing we need to do is switch from Microsoft VS Code to mine, which is CBA VS Code. And the branch that we want to merge into here, or we're going to pull into it, they're the same thing. It's going to be version 2. So we'll search for that, select it. And we get a message able to merge. They can be automatically merged. You can see what the change is to the README file. I changed version 1 to version 2. And to complete this, click the green button, create pull request. Okay, everything looks good. We'll go ahead and create the pull request. Okay, and so here's where someone could come in and look and see, you know, what you did, your commit, maybe a teammate. You could approve it. And once everything's fine, you'll click merge pull request. This will put that into the main branch. And you can leave a comment, which I'm not going to do. Let's go ahead and confirm the merge. And after you merge, you really don't need that branch anymore. So you could go ahead and click delete branch. And that's it. So it's merged into my main branch. And to see that, let's go back to here. And we can see on the commits, the latest commit, merge pull request number 1, and the version 2. So you can click there and you can see these are my 3 commits. The 2 commits and then the merge. And you see verified here, that probably means it was done by pull request. And so that's how you can push a local branch into GitHub, and then you can delete it also in GitHub after you merge it into your main branch. And the last thing I want to show you guys is where your local repository is pointing to. So let's go back to the main branch. Sorry, git switch. We're going to switch to the main branch. You notice earlier I typed, when I was pushing it, well, setting up the upstream, I typed the word origin. Origin is where this points to. So to see your origins, you could use git remote -v for verbose, or you could type it out verbose with two dashes. And you can see the push origin, that's the name, and the fetch origin. So this is the same URL I copied from the website. And so if you got a repository and you're not sure where it's pointing to, you could use that git remote verbose. Okay. So guys, I hope that helped you in how to fork, how to clone, the differences between the two, and how to push that local branch into the repository. And the one final step that I forgot, removing the branch in GitHub does not remove it locally. So you could run git branch -d with version 2, and that deletes the branch locally. So now we're back to main and everything's good. Sorry guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you next time. Thank you.